Hey, good morning, everyone. Today's Friday, May 29th. I guess it is the official last day of the 2019-2020 school year. It was good to see you guys. Those that showed up at the parade on Wednesday, it was fantastic seeing you. I was up at school for 2 hours yesterday. Part of a group that teachers that was collecting Chromebooks and textbooks and all that type of stuff. So I got a chance to see some of you guys yesterday, and that was fantastic yesterday too. So, anyways, before I get started today, just want to tell everyone, hope you have a great summer. It was a fantastic short school year, the little bit that we had, and I'm truly gonna miss all of your smiling faces. So, hopefully we'll get a chance to see each other real soon. Real soon meaning 3 months from now, beginning of September, when you guys are sixth graders, huh? Hopefully we're not doing this online at the beginning of the school year next year, all right? So, all right, I have 5 short chapters left. I'm going to break it down into 2 readings. I'm going to do a reading of 3 chapters and a reading of 2 chapters, and hopefully have all 5 chapters posted by the end of the day today. So, all right, without further ado, here we go. This would be chapter 41. It's called Naked, which Winston is right now, with the exception of his collar. Usually I've got a some kind of a sweatshirt or something like that on him, but I took him for a walk this morning, and he found himself a dead northern out in the middle of the woods somewhere, of all places. I don't know if an eagle had gotten it and dropped it, and decided that he loved the smell of it so much that he would roll in it. So I got the sit with the smell of dead northern, as if live northern isn't stinky enough. Dead northern in the truck on the way home. So had to strip him down, had to give him a bath, everything like that. So he's sitting next to me playing with the ball, of course. You'll probably hear him barking here in a little bit because I'm not throwing a ball to him. So, anyways, chapter 41, Naked. Here we go. To the east, the black night sky was beginning to turn blue over the high, jagged ridge. "It's almost dawn," Hideki said. "As soon as the sun's up, we'll surrender." "Surrender?" Masako said. She'd come to see what he and Kamiko were talking about. "We can't surrender to the Americans. They'll kill us." "Not if we don't make them afraid," Hideki said. He remembered the How to Surrender leaflets that had fallen on him the day after the Americans had first landed. How long ago that seemed now. What had the paper said? Stay away from the Japanese army, wear white, make it clear you are surrendering and not a threat. He also remembered the Japanese using Okinawans as human shields, and how the Americans had gunned down Okinawans who were no threat at all because they were afraid they were explosives or Japanese soldiers hidden under their kimonos. Hideki and the others didn't have anything white to wear. All their clothes were muddy brown. So how would they convince the Americans they were harmless? Hideki had felt powerless many times in his life, especially since the Americans had landed. But one moment stood out among them all. Hideki remembered being naked on the battlefield, shivering in the rain as he peeled layer after layer of maggot-filled, bloody clothes. There he goes. Yep. Winston. Bloody clothes off his body. Stripped down until there was nothing left of him. A ghost. He felt so exposed, so unprotected. It was horrifying. That was how they had to be now if they wanted to survive. "We'll go naked," Hideki said. "What?" Masako said. "It's the only way," Hideki told him. "At least down to our underclothes. We have to be as harmless as possible. As long as we don't make them scared, we'll be all right. But if anybody does anything to make them angry or afraid..." Hideki didn't have to tell them what would happen if that happened. Hideki, are you sure about this? Kamiko asked him. The sky behind the Sawtooth Ridge to the east turned orange. The sun was almost up. Tell the kids to take their clothes off, Hideki said. It's time. Hideki stepped away from the others and pulled off Ray's pack. The only thing he took out from it was the oilskin envelope with the photographs. Hideki removed his Japanese army jacket and pants and slid the waterproof pouch down the back of his underpants, the only piece of clothing he still wore. Hideki put his helmet upside down in the mud, then folded his clothes and nestled them neatly inside it. On the very top, he placed his grenade, the one the IJA had given him to kill himself with. Hideki had finally understood. This is what he had to do with his last grenade. If he took it with him now, it would kill him. To live, Hideki had to leave his only weapon behind. All right, that was chapter 41. Chapter 42 is called Surrender. Surrender. Hideki felt like he was about to brave the gauntlet back at school, but this gauntlet was deadly serious. How had he ever been afraid of Yoshio and his friends when they were things that were far scarier in the world? The sun was just over the crest of the ridge when Hideki, Kamiko, and Masako walked around the bend, followed by 8 small children. All of them wore nothing but their underclothes. For Hideki and the other boys, that meant once white, now gray shorts. The girls wore gray underpants with another piece of gray cloth tied tight around the chest for Kamiko and Masako. The younger children were more comfortable with their nakedness, but Hideki knew that Kamiko and Masako and the other older children must be feeling defenseless, exposed, and vulnerable. Hopefully, the Americans would see them the same way. The soldiers stood behind the barricade of fallen trees. Hideki and the others had just come within sight of the first American sentries when the clouds above them parted. And for the first time in a solid month, the rain stopped. It was like someone had suddenly dammed up a river. Hideki stopped and blinked as actual sunlight came streaming through, warm on his naked skin. The children all stopped in their tracks, forgetting for a moment that they were walking into a viper's nest. It distracted the soldiers on guard too. For a long moment, everyone on the road and in the camp stopped and looked up at the sun, like none of them had ever imagined living to see it again. And then one of the soldiers cried out and pointed at the children, and the moment was broken. The 2 guards at the perimeter of the camp aimed their rifles at them and shouted things Hideki didn't understand. Hideki's hand instinctively went for his grenade, but of course it wasn't there. He felt a twinge of panic at leaving his only protection behind. But no, if he had a grenade in his hand right now, he would already be dead. Within seconds, more students had run to take up positions. Let me read that again. Within seconds, more soldiers had run to take up positions behind the fallen logs that ringed their camp. An entire squad pointed their guns straight at Hideki and the others. One of the smaller boys whimpered and tried to turn around, but Kamiko took his hand and comforted him. Hideki took a step forward, and the American soldiers erupted with unintelligible, angry shouts. Hideki's heart beat so hard he thought it would burst out of his chest. What had he done? How would they survive this? If the American soldiers fired at them now, they were helpless. They would all be dead. They didn't even speak the same language. One of the soldiers barked at them again in English, but no one understood it. Hideki took another step forward, and the Americans shouted again, and they squinted down the barrels of their rifles. Hideki could just imagine their fingers tightening around the triggers, squeezing. This wasn't going at all like it had been, This wasn't going at all like it had when he had surrendered with the Miyagi family. The Americans were too on edge now. The sunlight had startled everyone, made it look like Hideki and the others had appeared out of nowhere. Hideki felt a bead of sweat trickle down his forehead and hit his bare chest. Beside him, one of the little girls started to cry. It's going to be all right, Hideki told the children with courage he didn't feel. One of the soldiers barked louder than all the others, and Hideki trembled as the biggest man he'd ever seen pushed his way to the front of the soldiers. He was more bear than man, and he carried a big rifle that was as long as Hideki was tall. His face was dark with stubble, and Hideki realized with a start that one of his ears was completely gone, replaced by a scarred red crater the size and shape of a coconut crab. Hideki fought the urge to take a step back, and he stood his ground. "Do not move," the big bear man said. The intonation was all wrong, but Hideki thought he understood it. The American was speaking Japanese. Hideki glanced around at Misako and his sister, and they shared in his amazement and relief. Quickly, Kamiko and Misako made sure the children understood. Okay, Hideki said, repeating something he'd heard the Americans say at the field hospital where he was treated. "Do not be tricks," the bear man said. "We surrender," Hideki said, hoping the bear man understood. He pronounced the Japanese word more slowly. Surrender. The big bear man glanced around at the other soldiers, and they grunted slowly at each other. Hideki guessed they were debating what he had said. Hideki turned his palms up to show them he wasn't carrying a weapon, and he took a step forward. Ooh. Whoa, the soldier yelled. Oh, whoa, the soldier yelled, and the rifles that had dipped came clicking back up at him. "Don't shoot," Hideki pleaded. "Please, don't shoot." "Raise your hands," the bear man growled. "Obey, or I fire." Hideki put his hands up and urged the others to do the same. All around him, Kamiko, Misako, and the other children did as they were told and threw their hands up as high as they could go. There was no way the Americans could see them as a threat now. They were naked, weaponless, obedient. Pacow! Uh-oh. A single shot rang out, the sound booming off the steep ridge wall to their right, and Hideki flinched. Before the last echo had faded away, the little boy beside him, Kazuo, the one who had been the last to squeeze through past the bomb before Hideki, the one he'd guarded with all of his life, fell face forward into the mud. What happened? All right, next chapter. This is chapter 43. It's called Rise Up. The children screamed. Kamiko cried out. Hideki dropped into the mud next to the boy, his hands over his head, and the others did the same. Kazuo! Are you all right?" Hideki shouted. Kazuo cried in pain, but he was alive. He was alive, but the Americans had shot him. Tears sprang to Hideki's eyes. "We're all going to die," he thought. "They shot Kazuo, and we're all going to die." He wanted to get up and check on Kazuo, but he was afraid of being shot. He kept his face down in the mud. "We did what they told us," Kamiko cried. "We did exactly what they told us to do, and they still shot at us." She didn't understand, but Hideki did. He knew now why otherwise normal men became monsters. It wasn't just when you threatened them, they became monsters when they were afraid. It didn't excuse it, but it explained it. These men had been pushed past the edge of fear. The Battle of Okinawa had done it to the Japanese soldiers, to American soldiers, and even to Hideki himself. He hoped to slip past the front lines when things were calm enough for both sides to be human, but he realized now that was impossible. It was too late. They were all monsters now. Hideki squeezed his eyes shut tight and waited for more bullets. But they didn't come. What he heard instead was more shouting among the Americans. He looked up to see the big bear of a man grabbing the rifle of a smaller, younger soldier and twisting it toward the sky. The bear man roared at the young soldier, then at the other soldiers. He was angry. The young soldier must have been the one who'd shot the boy, and the big bear man was mad at him. More soldiers shouted and argued, but the big bear man had the last word. The Americans kept their rifles trained on Hideki and the others, but they were more sheepish now. They didn't bark and snap at them like dogs, didn't squint down their rifle barrels like they were about to shoot. Hideki took a deep breath. He had to get help for Kazuo. And he and Kamiko and Masako and the others all had to get moving if they wanted to live. That shot had echoed far and wide in the early morning stillness. The Japanese soldiers had to have heard it. An infiltration squad could be here at any moment, and then nothing the bearman said or did would save them. Hideki and the others would be caught in the middle of a gunfight. Slowly, fearfully, Hideki pushed himself up out of the mud and stood. "Hideki, what are you doing?" Kamiko cried. Naked, shivering, covered with mud, Hideki put his hands in the air again and stared at the big soldier. This was it. Neither of them needed to speak the same language to understand. There were only two ways this could end. Either he let Hideki and the others go by, or he killed them where they stood. A long moment passed between them, and excuse me. And then the big bear man said something in English that sounded quiet and gentle. Quiet and gentle. Apologetic. He lowered his enormous rifle and nodded. Legs shaking, Hideki walked slowly, carefully over to Kazuo and gently lifted him out of the mud. Kazuo had been shot through the arm. There was blood and the arm was limp like it was broken, but Kazuo would live if Hideki could get him to one of the American doctors. Kazuo buried his head in Hideki's chest and sobbing quietly. "It's going to be okay, Kazuo," Hideki whispered. "I will protect you." Hideki knew he couldn't really protect Kazuo from being shot. He couldn't protect any of them from being shot, but he would try, at least, and he would die trying if he had to. "Get the little ones to their feet," Hideki told Kamiko. She stood warily, borrowing some of Hideki's bravery. "Come on, Masako, you too," Hideki said. Masako didn't stand up. "They shot him," she said, staring at Kazuo's injured arm. "They'll shoot us too." "They might," Hideki said, "but there's nothing else we can do." Kamiko helped Masako up and held her hand. Kamiko took one of the children's hands as well. One by one, they took each other's hands, the last of the children clutching Hideki's arm so hard it started to go numb, forming a 10-person-long chain across the road, and they began to walk. American soldiers still pointed guns at them, and one or two of the little kids backed up a step, still afraid of what these strangers might do. "Don't run," Hideki told the children. "Keep your eyes down. Don't do anything to make them think you're a threat." They drew closer and closer to the Americans, to the barrels of the guns. The big bear man said something that carried a warning tone, and Hideki glanced up. But the bear man wasn't talking to the children. He was admonishing the other soldiers. Was he telling them not to shoot? A couple of them gave him angry, skeptical looks, but the big bear man appeared to be the boss. Hideki put his eyes to the ground again. "We're almost there," he told the children. "Be brave and just keep walking." Kazuo had gone limp in his arms, either from exhaustion or shock. Hideki didn't know, but Kazuo had passed out. It was just as well. Seeing the soldiers with their guns, knowing that what they could do, made Hideki's whole body quiver with fear. They were almost there. Almost there. Hideki's bare foot passed through a gap in the barricade, and he was across the line. Misako and Kamiko and the children had made it too. Hideki's breath left him and he collapsed to his knees, sobbing. They had done it. They were through, and they were safe. Hideki looked up at the big bear man with relief and gratitude, and he hoped he understood. And then the Japanese army found them. Oh boy. All right, that's chapters 41, 42, and 43. All right, I'll get the other two chapters read later today. That's been, we're at 20 minutes and 33 seconds. All right, it's Friday. Hope everyone's having a great day. A little cloudy, a little gloomy, a little cooler. But warmer weather, it looks like, is right around the corner again. So take care, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the book. Bye.